In this video, we're going to show you how to inspect the rear bearing in your front load washer. Every front load washer is designed with a set of large bearings for the inner basket drive shaft to go through. There's two bearings, an inner and an outer. Over time, those bearings may wear. A lot of times when they start to wear as a result of the seal inside the tub having been compromised, and that water makes it through past the seal and gets into the bearing, washes out the lubrication, and the bearings start to run rough to the point that they'll get noisy and they'll get louder and louder and louder till finally some of the balls disintegrate and the basket's now out of balance and the whole machine's starting to shake as well as rumble. When that happens, you're now faced with a decision of having to tear your machine completely apart in order to get to the bearing. So what we want to do is show you where that bearing is located, what to look for, and help you make a decision as to whether you'd want to go to this much work in order to change those bearings if you can get them. If so, or think about what it would cost to have somebody do that for you and compare that to what the price of a new machine would be. It's a very large repair. As you can see, it's one of the very first parts that they start to build your washer with. So I've taken this front load washer, which is one of the earlier models that came out, but they all use that same style to design. You get your tub assembly out of your machine, and then you want to take a look on the back. You're either going to find a pulley like this one that's driven by a belt, or you may find that you have a motor back here that's round in shape, kind of like a pulley, but it'll have wires going to it. Either way, you're going to remove the bolt that's in the center that would hold this pulley or would hold your motor and move either the motor or the pulley out of the way. With that off, you can see your bearing. Now, if your seal is gone and these bearings are being compromised, you may find a little like a dried grease or a wet look trickling down from here. If you're seeing that, then that seal has been compromised. If your machine has got a noisy growl from these bearings, they're just plain worn from just the lubrication breaking down, and the seal may still be okay. But either way, if you were looking to change these, you would have to split your tub. This manufacturer uses bolts all the way around the tub to hold it together. Some manufacturers don't use bolts, they'll use clips that just squeeze the two tubs together. Whichever method yours has, they would have to be removed in order to get to it. With the clips and the screws removed or loosened, you're able to take the upper or front tub and set it out of the way. Once that's done, you're now able to take your inner basket right out. And on this shaft, if you're finding a lot of score marks or some real discoloring or blue coloring, then that's an indication that those bearings are actually starting to seize up and are going to start wearing on the shaft. And if you're seeing that, then there's no question you need to replace this piece as well as those bearings. So we'll just set this to one side. Now, inside your rear tub is a seal as well as another ball bearing, just like that one in the back. And if you did want to change them, you'd have to make sure you're not only ordering the bearings, but ordering that seal as well. Some manufacturers now don't make those parts available individually. You actually have to order the whole back half of the tub that'll come with the bearings and the seal in it. It's quite expensive, and if you're seeing any damage on that inner basket shaft, you would have to replace that as well. If you did decide you wanted to change the bearings, and you're going to just basically drive them out from the back, come back around and drive this one this way. But the biggest challenge will be is that when you go to put it back together, you have to make sure you get the seal in flat and well seated, or else you're going to wind up with water leaking through and you're going to have the same issue all over again. But that's where your bearings are, and that's some of the things that can go wrong with them. So if you decide you want to do that repair, you can see it's pretty much one of the first parts that they start with to build your washer. And if you want to change them, you've got to take the machine completely apart, taking away all these individual pieces just so that you can get down to the point of changing that piece. Very expensive repair. You can certainly save some money by trying to do it yourself if you want. If you were to hire somebody to do it, it gets quite expensive to the point you may want to look at comparing that price to the cost of a new machine. So just to give perspective on the front load washer, if you wanted to change some of those parts, all the things that you have to take apart in order to get it out of this machine is everything from taking the concrete weights off, which are quite heavy, and every front load will have some form of weight on the front and the back. As well, you've got a whole bunch of other pieces that need to be removed, such as a motor. This one, the motor mounts underneath. Other models have a motor that mounts right on the back of the tub assembly. The suspension shocks have to come off. They also have springs that the tub hangs from on the frame. They're mounted up at the top of the machine. Some machines have 2, some have 4, in which case you almost need 2 people or some special equipment in order to get that tub up and to take the weight so you can get these springs off. So it's typically a 2-man job. 1 man if you're experienced and you know what you're doing. As well, there's some funny springs that hold the door gaskets on, and some machines have a belt. Some just have the motor without a belt, and other machines there's another weight that you have to take off. So as you can see, there's a lot of work that has to be done in order to get to the point where you can start to consider replacing some of those parts.